Welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa Caprio. Do you believe in magic? What if you were told that all you had to do was get a little creative and work a magic spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Here on Postcards to the Universe, we will share manifesting, tips, postcards, creativity, abundance, and prosperity. Here is your host, Melissa Caprio.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. How are you guys doing? I hope everybody is doing well. It's a Wednesday, my favorite day of the week. Just want to give a big shout out to my regulars. Thank you so much for tuning in each week. It means the world to me. But if you are new to my show, I want to say welcome. Thank you so much. And I hope you enjoyed today's show. But if you want to listen to some other shows, they're pre-recorded on Om Times Radio in the archives. You can hear them there. I'm sorry, they're not pre-recorded. They're post-recorded on the archives on Om Times Radio. You can listen to them on any of the podcasting platforms that you subscribe to. And you can also hear any show on my website, postcardstotheuniverse.com, under podcasts. And there's always a description in what the show is about and who I am speaking with. So I hope that you come back and listen to more and just let me know your thoughts. I would love to hear it. A little bit about me. I'm an artist. I'm a photographer. I have a book titled Postcards to the Universe, Harness the Universe's Power and Manifest Your Dreams. And I talk about manifesting in that book. And I use photography as a tool for manifesting. I have people create a manifesting postcard, like a vision board. I photograph it. When it shows up in their reality in physical form, I share their story. And there's 30 of those in my book. So yeah, check that out and make a manifesting postcard and send it to me. You can find out how to do it. I share how to set the space, how to create one, how to tap into the energy to create one, and the address where to send it. And if you have any questions, just reach out to me, and I would be happy to help. So I started doing about a month ago these short 3 to 4 minute videos talking about a lot of the things I talk about on my shows, everything positive, anything inspirational. I'm trying to saturate as much as I can the world with inspirational things, right? Because we see nothing but tragedies all the time from the news. So I'm like counteracting that with what's good about the world, what's good about our life. So you can check those out. I share those on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok. And I also started reading oracle cards. I created an oracle deck of the affirmation postcards that I've received, and it's been great, and I love it. And I'm doing one every day. So if you find an affirmation that resonates with you, it was meant for you. Okay, so let me get to my guest now, Kara Goodwin. She is a passionate guide for those on the path of spiritual awakening. As the host of the Soul Elevation podcast, she dives deep into ascension, consciousness, energy healing, and the mysteries of the universe, bringing wisdom, insight, and engaging storytelling to every conversation. Her journey into meditation began during a profoundly challenging year marked by immense loss. These experiences shattered her sense of reality and propelled her into the depths of meditation, where she discovered a profound connection to Source. Her new book, Your Authentic Awakening, A Guide to Everyday Spiritual Living, offers a transformative journey for those seeking to align with their true essence and navigate their spiritual path with clarity. With years of experience leading retreats, facilitating deep discussions, and exploring the profound shifts shaping our reality, Kara brings warmth, depth, and an open heart to every dialogue. Whether sharing practical tools for spiritual growth, extraordinary personnel experiences, or higher wisdom from the unseen realms, she delivers insights that resonate deeply. For more, to find out about Kara, go to her website, which I'm going to spell for you. It's karagoodwin.com. It's www.kara, K-A-R-A, Goodwin, Goodwin.com. Welcome, Kara.
Thank you, Melissa, for having me. I hope I didn't interrupt you. The sound went out for like 5 seconds. I was like,
Not for me. Yeah.
Okay, good. So I was like, hello, and then it came back.
No, we should be okay. I was talking the whole time. I don't know if I went out. Mercury. We know Mercury is in retrograde,
We were
and
talking about that.
Yeah, and this sometimes happens, but well, this is unfortunately. Um, uh, oh, I think my producer wants me to call in. So why don't you start telling us a little bit about you? I'm gonna call in from my phone, which is separate from my mic, but you're still going. So share with us about how you started, how you got into the work that you're doing.
Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really excited to be here and to talk with you and your listeners. You touched on it a little bit in my intro. People come to spirituality and to they have their awakenings for a multitude of different reasons, but there does tend to be
Wow.
these. I can hear you.
Yeah. Is that better?
Can you hear me? Yeah. I mean, you just cut out for a little bit.
Oh my God.
During
I'm
the intro
choppy?
for me. No, for me, you're good. No, you.
I can hear me choppy over here, but
Okay, now you're cut out totally. So I'm going to keep going with my intro. Hopefully, other people can hear me. But there are different paths to awakening, but there tends to be common themes that make people sort of open up to this reality that is outside of what we learn in school and what the media tells us and so forth. So for me, it was through loss. It was through my life turning upside down. And so that happened with it started with the death of my sister-in-law. And then shortly after that, I mean, just like 3 weeks later, our dog died. And then a few weeks after that, my stepdad had to have a surgery on his brain stem because he was having a lot of health issues. And then my mother-in-law was hit by a motorbike as she crossed the street. So she
oh my God.
Yeah. And then my stepmom ended up in the hospital with heart failure and went to the top of the heart transplant list and had a heart transplant. All of that happened within about 7 months.
Holy cow.
Yeah, and it all happened while I was with my husband and 2 kids. We lived in Italy for 4 years. So it was during one of those years. So we weren't even with family. Like it was just kind of not that we would want to go through that under any condition, but we feel even more helpless and isolated. So it just, through that experience, I felt like the rug got pulled out from under me, and I just, I felt that there must be more to life. That was part of it, of this sort of, it just got me thinking kind of about life at a deeper level. But even more than that, I just felt really unsettled. I just felt that whenever the phone would ring, that it must be bad news. And honestly, it was like every time the phone rang, it was terrible news. And so then you start to think like there's just terrible news lurking around every corner. And so I decided to learn to meditate because I had heard a lot about it, and I had tried it in the past, and I'd never really gotten anywhere with it, so I very quickly would give up with it. But it felt like my life, I really needed it. In the past it was just more of a curiosity thing, which is why I didn't stick with it. But with this, I felt that I really, really needed it. And so I got serious about it, and I got a teacher. And that was a big win for me, to get like somebody who knew the ropes, who knew how to tell me what the mechanics were. And, because my approach had just been, I'll just sit there and not think, and I'll be meditating. And if anybody who's listening has tried that, Melissa's laughing because it's ridiculous if you have tried to meditate.
Yeah, it's very hard.
No. If you don't know any better, you're like, yep, okay, that's what happens. Like, that's what meditating is. You're sitting there and you're not thinking. But it's really, really hard to not think, especially when you just sit down and you're used to being really active. So getting a teacher was really critical for me. But I I really just wanted to feel calmer. I liked that I was, learning how the breath worked with our physiology and how the breath can help us to work with the mind, to calm ourselves down. It can help to slow the mind down. And really, that was what I wanted. I didn't really want the spiritual side of it, especially because I was learning from monks. And it was really unfamiliar territory, what they, their spirit. And they would pray to a lineage that, was unfamiliar to me. So I was kind of holding that part more at a distance. Like, okay, I don't know about all that. I know that I want to feel calm. Don't know about the whole spiritual side. And, but it didn't take too long. I write about this in the book, that I even had, within the first year or so, I went on a spiritual retreat and I found myself having a healing session. I didn't even know if I should have one because I wasn't like sick,
Yeah.
I found this healer and I was like, oh my God, I'd love to have a healing session, but I'm not sick. Is it like, I don't know what you'd heal. And she's like, no, it works on all levels. And I was like, well,
oh, yeah. Yeah. Because we have so many emotional blocks in us that we don't even realize we have, right? So, yeah, I know. Yeah.
And
okay.
She noticed in that session, she was like, you're not praying before you meditate. Your heart is really closed. And how did she know that? Like, that was, I was on a retreat that would kind of, like, the place where we were in,
right,
just by the very nature, like, you would don't pray.
Don't pray.
So that caught my attention because she was tuning into that on some level that was outside of the logical reasoning. And I've been skeptical about that aspect of the meditation practice. And but that just goes to show, like, how I was very slow in terms of what I was being taught, the invitation that was being put forth to me through the teachings, and what I was actually kind of taking from the teachings. But as the more I meditated, the more experiences started to happen to me that were really highlighting that there was something bigger happening. And I, do have a connection outside of the material world, and that I am loved. And there were, the very first experience that I had, which actually was a memory that kind of came back to me more recently, even though it was so moving at the time, but I was just having my regular, like, afternoon meditation, early days of learning. I think I was still even taking this course. It was like a 10-week online Learn to Meditate course. And I remember it was like I had to do it before my kids would come home from school. So I was going to be rushing out the door to get them, like, as soon as I finished or whatever. So just an everyday thing. And at the end of the meditation, my eyes were still closed, and all of this light, I started seeing, it was as though I had stepped in. It was like beams, like light beams, or one big beam kind of descending from the top and coming sides.
Wow.
And it was so moving that I just broke down into tears, which was I wasn't a very, like, I didn't cry very much back then, just as the type of person that I was. I didn't really release my emotions very easily. So that was so beautiful and mysterious, because it was like, what was that?
Right. What? Yeah. And you can feel it too, right? Don't you think so? Because I just started meditating this last year, and I was like you. I couldn't do it by quieting my mind and finding out you're a Gemini like me. Geminis, that's where we are. We're in our heads all the time, and we always have a lot of thoughts going at once, until I just started going on these like journeys in my mind. Like I started a visual journey, and then what happened is I started going to this other realm, and I was connecting with these light beings, and then my sister, who passed away 3 years ago, started showing up, which was really,
wow.
yeah, it was really intense. And it's not every single time, but a lot of the time, like I'll get really into it, and you can like really feel like you're somewhere else, like you're almost out of body,
Yeah.
like you feel the
Yeah.
connection on a really deep level. Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, that's amazing. I'm so happy that you had that experience, and I'm sorry to hear about your sister too.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. My sister, when she was special needs, and she had an accident. She had a choking accident the year before, so it wasn't like completely unexpected that she passed away, but it was kind of unexpected that she passed away. And now I was just telling my mother, like last week, I'm like, Mom, I see, her name's Tony. I said, I see Tony now more than I did when she was alive, because I do it every morning, because I see her every morning.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's beautiful.
And it does make you feel like there's so much more than what we're seeing in our physical body. And I was always like, because I've always heard people talk about, oh, meditation. I'm like, yeah, what, no, that's not going to be me. That's not going to be me. So I was resistant because I had an idea of what it was going to look like. And it sounds like you kind of were too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
Yeah,
after you had that light experience, that light coming down, did you feel like, because it opened up your heart? Like, is that like kind of what happened for you?
Well, I feel that was part of the heart opening. It definitely didn't do it all. It took a lot more work for me, just over the years. There have been times when I've deliberately worked with my heart energy, and then just other times where, mysterious things happen, and and it kind of opens up. But that has been definitely part of my journey, is understanding the role of the heart, because you mentioned like being in your head a lot, being a Gemini, but for whatever reason that we may feel that we're really intellectually on the, we lean really into the intellect.
Yeah.
That can make it really more challenging to connect with the heart, or to even find value in the heart. It even took me time. It wasn't like this healer told me that all those years ago, and I was like, oh, I'm prioritizing living in my heart now. It was kind of like,
yeah, of course not.
Yeah. Well, okay, whatever, it is what it is. And I'm not convinced, I wasn't really convinced that it was that important. But through my journey, I have understood, oh, wow, the heart is very, very important, possibly even more connected, possibly even more important than the mind. Not that the mind isn't important, but a lot of times when it comes to connecting spiritually, the mind can even get in the way. I know it has for me.
Yeah, me too.
And, I was a computer programmer when I came out of college. I spent many years in the corporate world in a very masculine environment, where, working for like pharmaceutical companies and, big blue chip companies, where it's a competitive environment. It's you're very reliant on your intellect. And, and you're living this very linear life. That's been another thing that, I have had, that, you were just talking about how you understand that something different is happening with reality than what we've been, what we've understood. And, one of those things is life's not as linear as we think it is. And, I know you're deep into manifestation, and that's a huge part of manifestation, and the power of creation and the power to affect things across time. And so we have to, if we're so entrenched and reliant and on the mind and the intellect, we don't open and have spaciousness for what we need to be in the heart and to value the heart, or to be able to have that spaciousness to allow in another version of reality, that doesn't really, when I think of manifestation, there's a lot of mystery there in terms of how things get manifested. That's how I like to work with manifestation, where it's like, okay, here is what I want to manifest, and I don't necessarily want to do it in the, first you do this, then you do this,
right,
then you're ready for this, and then you do step 4, then, and it's like, that's kind of how we use our rational mind, where it's like, okay, we have to do this first, then we have to do this, then we have to do this, and it's like, for example.
Well, I think that's why it doesn't always work. So, like, people are always like, I've been doing this, and why isn't it coming? And, because, right, it isn't a linear thing. And then what are you resisting? And then what are you focusing on? You're focusing on not having something. So you're not in your heart, right? You're not in your heart. You're not trusting, so we're doing this. It's like, like, if you don't care about something, you may say, you may mention something that you haven't thought about in years, and then all of a sudden you'll see it, like, right away. It's like, because you said it, you manifested it because you weren't attached to it. You had no attachment to it. So there it is. It shows right up. But when you're attached to something, we're so focused on the feeling of not having it. Having it, and that's why it's not coming. But I want to know, like, because it's also about raising our vibration. So to talk about what you're doing, how can we raise our vibration and shift into a higher frequency? And is that what it means to be awakening spiritually? Like, I'm kind of combining the two together. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, that's a big part of it. That spiritual awakening, it starts, I mean, the way to understand it with our beautiful minds, even though, we need to hold our beautiful minds lightly, but it comes back to that everything is energy, which I'm sure your listeners are well aware that everything is energy, but I do like to start there, because we think of our lives as very fixed. And when we think about ourselves, it may be hard to understand really how we truly are energy, because we have bodies. We have these physical bodies, and they feel so dense, and we can over-identify with our bodies, or even with our minds, even with our thoughts, over-identifying with them, and they seem more fixed. But they really are resonating they're resonating because they're energy. Energy vibrates, energy resonates. And so an energy is all around us, in addition to it being us. But we aren't just one energy. We're a spectrum. We resonate at a spectrum, but we also have different energies that resonate within us. So it's not all just one. And this is where some of the things, like, if we have a lot of trauma, if we have a lot of things that we haven't healed, a lot of things that we don't want to look at in our history or in our habits, in our thoughts, that we kind of deny, then those might be some lower vibrational things that they're still there. They're still a part of us, but we're not addressing them. We're not willing to see them, to be able to access them and bring them into the wholeness, so that they can kind of be alchemized and come into a higher vibration. But the awakening process is a matter of vibrating faster at the energetic level. That, and as we go through our awakening, we tend to, I'm sure you've experienced this, we tend to have these times where it's like we go through a portal, and a lot of times there's chaos. It's like we're going from one way of being, or one way that we vibrate, one way that we resonate. So at the energetic level, it's like we're resonating at a certain frequency, just keeping things really simple. But say we're resonating at one frequency, but we're ready to kind of upgrade.
Yeah.
And in order to do that, we have to get to the frequency that matches that upgrade, right? So it's
Right.
like, you can't just, I mean, you think of it even in my, right, again, it's another thing I talk about in the book where if you travel abroad, you can't just, in a lot, like if you go from the U.S. to Europe, you can't just plug in your electronics when you go
Right.
to a European country because it's a different wattage. Like there's more power running through their sockets than we have
Yes.
in America. So our electronics are configured. They're created in a way that they can handle, I think it's 110 or something.
I think so.
110
Yeah. I think our plugs are 110. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so if you take a 110 plug and you try to jam it into a socket, luckily they designed them so that you can't just do that. But if
I
you
know.
want to, without using a converter, it will fry
It will fry
if it's not,
your
if the
system.
equipment. Right. And so it's the same for us. Like if you go through a portal and you're like, okay, I'm ready to have, I'm ready to have more, a higher vibration because I want to be more spiritually awakened and I want to have more, I want my spiritual gifts to come online and to wake up and whatever it is, there might be some more responsibility. You're from a soul perspective, for instance, on the other side of that portal, there might be some more responsibility for you. Perhaps, if once you're resonating at that vibration, maybe more people are attracted to you in terms of leadership, spiritual
Right.
leadership, leadership.
We have to be ready. We have to be ready. And I do see it as we're going through a chaos before like it clears out. But I want to talk more about that. I just looked at the time. So we're at our commercial break time. So let's take our break here and then we'll continue our conversation. All right, everybody, stay tuned and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes.
Conscious media for conscious minds. Om Times. Host your show on IOM FM, the radio network of Om Times Media, one of the more recognized brand names in the conscious community, and is backed by the extensive marketing reach of Om Times. Hosting a show on IOM FM immediately connects you with our extensive dedicated community.
My name is Victor Furman. Some call me The Voice. I've always been fascinated with human nature, spirituality, science, and the crossroads at which they meet. Join me Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern on Om Times Radio, and we'll explore these topics and so much more on Destination Unlimited.
Ascending Hearts is no ordinary dating site, but a spiritual dating site with a purpose, to link you with your soulmate. We engineer the serendipity so you can trust that you will attune with someone that has the same matching vibration as you. Ascending Hearts, the conscious dating site for the spiritually aware. Try Ascending Hearts for free, ascendinghearts.com.
Hi, I'm Melissa Caprio from Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave. Do you believe in magic? What if I told you all you had to do was get a little creative and work a dream spell to bring anything you can imagine into your life? Well, guess what? I've got the spell for you. Postcards to the Universe, a global movement for manifestation, is a casting magical tool for you to use whenever you want. How does living in passion sound to you? Join me in my movement where you get to create in the magical playground. Let's think outside the box and do some playful conjuring. By casting out our desires with a manifesting postcard, we explore our hearts and allow the alchemy of our dreams to appear. And don't forget to tune in each week here on Om Times Radio with my show, Postcards to the Universe, creating the life you crave at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. I share tips on creativity, abundance, and prosperity, and you will be introduced to the coolest guests, trailblazers, mystics, and creatives who enrich our lives. Welcome back, and if you're just joining me, I'm talking with Kara Goodwin, and we were talking about raising our frequencies and our vibration to shift and have a deeper spiritual awakening. So, Kara, we were talking right before the break about how sometimes, like, we're right before we're getting ready to upgrade, like software, right? Like software, that we're going through as maybe some working through some dense energies, and then there may be a lot of chaos that happens. And I'll let you finish where you were before I had to. Sorry, I had to interrupt you.
Yeah, no problem. But so it is this. We need to. It's kind of a self-protective mechanism where we need to raise our energy enough to be able to handle being on the other side. So there's the energetic component that we talked about, like similarly to the way that electronics work, where it's like, well, we don't want to fry ourselves. We don't want to suddenly be in having access to energy that's going to fry our systems. And that actually does happen. There can be physical repercussions where your system gets fried. And, I kind of leave that to the higher self to manage. But there definitely are cases of people who, have psychotic breaks, or their systems, their nervous system can't handle it. But there's also then just a very practical, like, okay, if on the other side of this energy portal or gateway, once I'm on the other side, maybe there are more responsibilities where it's like you're going to be, people at this level, you're going to attract people who want to have advice or want to have, they want you to lead them in some way. So it's like you don't want to be in that situation when you're not ready, right? You don't want to have like responsibility when you don't know how to handle, like you haven't been vetted,
Yeah, it's true.
So there are a lot of different like facets to it, but like you were reiterating, it's a common characteristic that there's a lot of chaos and a lot of, you can think of it even as like a birth canal, a lot of pressure, a lot of discomfort, shifting from one level to another level. That's a very common characteristic of a breakthrough, and that feels very, very personal when you're going through it. It can be really hard to be objective when it feels like your world's falling apart or you're losing your mind or whatever it might be, where you're feeling like off the charts anxiety, whatever it might be. It can be really hard to have perspective to say, oh, okay, this is a spiritual awakening, because it feels so, like it feels so hard.
Yeah, it's very hard.
Something's wrong.
Yeah, and you'll hear a lot of people say, what's going on? Why am I having this happening to me? What did I do? I'm a good person. Why am I having so many of these horrible experiences? Yeah, I kind of also feel like collectively we're right now in the birth canal. As a collective, in a collective way, in the whole world, not just the United States, but the whole world. We are birthing something new, and we are upgrading, and I believe so is Mother Nature, and that's part of her releasing the energies. Of course, and climate change, but also, I think she is shifting. Also, so so we're birthing because we're raising our frequency. So for anybody who's listening, who wants to find ways to do that, to raise their vibration, or how to handle it if they are going through a lot of pressure right now, what should somebody be doing?
There are so many different ways to raise our vibration, and it really is a matter of understanding who we are as individuals and what how we tick, self-discovery. For me, I will always first and foremost advise meditation. And I know there's so many people like you, Melissa, who say, you said for years, you were like, yeah, meditation, but I can't. And I totally get it, but I would challenge people, I would just push back and say everybody thinks they can't until they actually try to do it. And maybe you've tried, but, you have that racing mind thing that happens. That's the beginner's mind. And that's a very, very normal thing. but we can train ourselves. That's part of the discipline. And when we are wanting to change our lives, change our existence, it does take discipline to make new choices, because if we want to change ourselves, we need to be making new choices. And so there might be, and a lot of those might be uncomfortable, and they may be things that we think that we can't do. And that's part of evolution. That's part of us discovering ourselves. But meditation is just a time-tested, meditation has been prized in mystery schools and with mystics, and, there's really no getting around meditation if you really want to grow and raise your vibration. But, nature is also a huge, that can just really shift people into a higher state very, very easily. So whether that's natural bodies of water or a forest or, just being in the sun or sitting fireside, or it's different for different people, but engaging with nature, it's right there for us. It's right there. And our modern lives have been built to kind of keep us out of it. And, if we just take a moment to think about the fact that we are natural beings, we have evolved. It's in lockstep with nature. We are meant to have our feet on the ground. We are meant to be breathing in the air and to be in the elements. And so it is something to reevaluate if we have lost touch with nature. But, the types of music or chanting or sacred geometry or, there are, or even like yoga practices, qigong, all of these things are ways that we can start to engage with our energy and start to work with ourselves as consciousness. So I don't see it as being like there's one silver bullet for everybody that is going to take you from one vibration to another. It's really about knowing what makes you tick, and those things might change over time. Like I'm going through a huge sacred geometry phase right now, where it is just I am just drawing all the time, sacred geometry, especially with Sri Yantra, and meditating on it. And sacred geometry comes in and out for me. I will do this where I will just be like, I really need to get time to just, and it'll be in the back of my mind, okay, if I just do these next few things, then I'm going to spend this time making this one shape, or whatever it is. And then I, do it for a while. And then I feel like, okay, I got what I needed out of that. And then I won't do it again for a while. And that's okay. Same types of things with certain chants where it's I've got them on a lot, and then I let that go. I think that's a very natural thing that happens. There are different moments and different seasons and different things that are being called for, and it's all energy. So
it is all energy. I listen to frequencies a lot. Yeah, I love to listen to frequencies. And in the background, I'll just play them all day. To kind of shift the frequency. And you're talking about nature. I live in Florida, and I grew up around the ocean, and I'm not attracted to the ocean anymore. I'm attracted to forests. I need forests. So what I do is in my visual meditation, I'm in a forest. I feel it. I can feel the trees. And I heard somebody say this, and I thought, oh, what a good idea. Say you live somewhere and you're in a high city and you can't get to a forest or the ocean. If you put on your television on YouTube a video of an ocean and just waves or a forest or whatever, you can connect into that. That helps you connect to that energy, even though you can't be there physically, because it's all energy and frequency. And I was like, oh, what a good idea. So I put that on my YouTube a lot, a big forest, and somebody walks through it and they're quiet and you just hear the forest creatures and stuff. It's really cool. And I notice it shifts how I feel. Yeah.
I love that. I love it. And it's the same type of thing. If there's somebody listening who loves the ocean and lives in Indiana like I do.
Exactly. Right.
They, an Epsom salt bath Like, you don't underestimate an Epsom salt bath, where it's like, just
exactly.
because you're getting the mineral, like the mineral that you take in through the skin is, that is very underrated. But just being in the water, like, you still are connecting with the element of water. So, it's ideal to get into a body of water, whether that's the ocean or a lake or a river. But if it's winter and the climate's not right, or you're landlocked or whatever it is, like, that, we have access to water, and you can still connect to the element of the water in your home.
Absolutely. And by projecting, if we're moving, which I hear we are, that to a part where we're becoming more telepathic, and that we can leave, we think we're stuck in the denseness of our bodies, but we're really not. If we can get our minds to project, and connect to a different frequency, just because our body is here doesn't mean I can't be there also.
Yes, exactly.
Right? Yeah. So it's pretty cool how I notice more people are talking about this kind of stuff, more people are working with this kind of stuff, and I find it really, really interesting. But I have to ask, because a lot of people might not know what sacred geometry is, and why is it sacred? Is it that, because I've heard a lot about it. I don't know a lot about it, but I have heard a lot about sacred geometry and how powerful it is. Can you share a little bit?
Yeah, of course. So sacred geometry it depends what level you go in. So if you've seen like mandalas, for example, those are made of sacred geometry, but there are these foundational geometries that have these special characteristics, and like the tetrahedron, the icosahedron, these are the Platonic solids. And they are their own kind of self-contained geometries, but then they are put together to make more complicated geometries. But they have special characteristics that are unique only to them from a mathematical perspective. So whenever we see like the flower of life, the seed of life, those are like those interlocking circles, and there's all this symmetry with them. A cube.
Okay.
You know how a cube, you can look at it, and I remember being in like first grade or whatever, and learning that I could draw a cube, and how easy it was, and that like the what's that called? The illusion, the optical illusion.
Yeah.
That it creates, like, oh, there's the front. No, there's the front. No, that's the back. This is the front. And your eyes like play tricks on you. But this is the thing with when you're working with these shapes, they're actually the foundation of consciousness. And I've seen this in some mystical experiences, the metaphysical experiences that I've had, where one of the earliest kind of what in the world did I just see type of metaphysical experiences that I had was with these shapes that just flashed into my mind. And it happened so fast, I didn't even know what I was seeing, and I didn't know what was happening because I didn't get a lot of visuals. I didn't have, I am not like clairvoyant typically. And I was trying to fall asleep, and all of a sudden it was like, and I had these flashes of these shapes, and it took me it was years later that I even really dived into sacred geometry.
Interesting.
But they are kind of the energetic foundation. That's one of the ways. Of course, they are energy, but it's but energy from a consciousness perspective is organized in patterns. And it's interesting that we have that even in our language, where we talk about behavior patterns, right? And it's like, we know that we have patterns that show up in our life, but there are actual geometries. Like, we have geometries associated with each of our chakras, and I believe that each of us has our own unique geometry signature that's, many, many aspects and layers of us. But there are these patterns associated with our thoughts as well. And I believe that there is a geometrical aspect to that, where when our thoughts are not completely aligned with the truth, the divine truth, that there is a pattern like distortion. And so we've got these patterns that are actually distorted, and we're like latching onto something that isn't actually true at the highest sense. You know, it may be a distorted truth. So something like, you know, I'm unworthy. Maybe we're telling ourselves that we are unworthy, and we're trying, you know, that's not the highest truth. We are all children of God. We are all worthy by our birthright. You know, we are all infinitely loved. And so when we are locked into that inverted truth, it's actually like the pattern is disrupted, like it's an inverted pattern. It's a distorted pattern.
I know what you mean. Yeah, and I know that from what was it, Dr. Emoto with water?
Yes.
The water crystallizing in water. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, there's something about symmetry. So I always think of it as like the point of creation, right? Like where are we creating from? So when it's symmetrical and we're creating from a place of, this is simplifying it, obviously, abundance, right? But if it's not, we're creating from a perspective of chaos, right? It's chaotic. Everything's chaotic energy. So that's my best understanding of sacred geometry from where I'm at right now. Maybe I'll understand it better, the more I learn about this stuff. It's really interesting. Super interesting.
And you could spend you could have a whole lifetime of study. There are,
I'm sure,
rishis and sages and philosophers who so it's really hard to just kind of surface it. But
do you teach this? Do you teach this, or you're not teaching?
I do have a workshop that I did. It was like a 4-part series that I did last year, and it's still available. The recordings are all available. So that goes into it in a lot of details. I think, how many, was it 4 parts? Yeah, I think it was like 4 2-hour sessions. So there's a lot of content in there.
And you have some, definitely check it out, and you also have something coming up next week, right? Or on Saturday?
Saturday.
So what is it that you're doing on Saturday for anybody who's interested?
I have an online galactic summit. So we haven't even talked about galactics yet. But I know on this show.
So let's talk. So let's talk about it, because you and I, we both with Geminis, we could just keep going and going, and we're going to run out of time. So let's talk about galactic and talk about your summit. Let's do that now.
So I will have 10 incredible speakers who are in the field of galactic contact, and how it's not just about disclosure or UFO sightings or whatever. It's really about galactic contact and what it means for our spiritual awakening. Like, what does it have to do with ascension? How are they helping us, or how are they working against us in some cases? And so I was just listening today to your episode with Debbie Dashinger, and she mentioned Debbie Solaris. So she has done that free offering in conjunction with Debbie Solaris. Debbie Solaris is one of my speakers in the summit, and Vivian Chauvet and Tony Ghazi and
I know Tony. I love him too, and I was that's who I was talking to you about. He channels the praying mantis, which I had never heard of before. Yep, I had never, ever heard of that before. So, that's really cool. So it's the August 2nd?
It's August 2nd, 10 speakers. It's free, or you can upgrade for $55 and get these incredible gifts from every speaker, including Tony's going to do a private VIP 2-hour channeling session with the praying mantis.
Oh, wow.
And you get lifetime access to the replay, and just some, like, Daniel Scranton, if you've ever come across him, he's an amazing channel. Been around forever.
He's
She's channeling the Arcturians for the summit, and Isha Patel, who's in Australia, she's doing amazing work too. So there are a lot. We're going to have somebody's doing like a healing session, a group healing session during this summit. Each session is about 25 minutes, so it's a little bit longer than like a TED Talk
Okay.
thing, but they're all kind of concise. And so it will start at 3 p.m. Eastern time on Saturday, and we should wrap up by 7:30. And the replay is available for purchase, but it will also be available for free for 24 hours, just because it's impossible to hit, every time zone. So
Yes. I was going to ask you about that because unfortunately at that time, and I'm going to a concert Saturday night, I won't be available, but I would love to listen to it. So you are going to have replays. Okay, great. And people register on your website?
Yep, just register on KaraGoodwin.com and you'll see the Galactic Summit items there. And it's going to be so fun. I can't wait.
It sounds fun. So are you presenting also, or are you just hosting and introducing everybody?
I'm mostly just going to host. So this is the third summit I've done, and I've just kind of mostly stayed in the hosting role. The first summit, I did have my own segment at the end, but the second summit, there was a tornado that touched down like 3 miles from my house. And
oh my God,
like the sirens were going off, and so it was like all I could do to
stressful.
Finish the last. Yeah, I was like, okay, guys, I literally we're under a tornado warning. Like the sirens are going off. I have to go.
Oh
so like hundreds of people on this. So luckily it worked just in the nick of time, but that was a really easy way for me to decide if I was going to have my own segment. And so we'll see. I don't plan to have my own segment on this one, but we'll see what happens.
Well, it sounds really cool, and if anybody's interested, check it out. And also, so Kara, we didn't really get a chance to get into your book. Your book released recently, Your Authentic Awakening: A Guide to Everyday Spiritual Living. So is it like, are there practical tools in the book for people who are interested in exploring deeper inner work and awakening and connecting to spirit? Share a little bit about your book.
Yes, thank you. It is, every chapter ends with a do it section. So it kind of takes what we talked about and says, here are practical ways to help to develop this within yourself. It's got my own personal experiences in there, bigger like philosophical things that we've talked about on this episode as well. I go deeper into things like that. So yeah, it is a practical guide. And but it's not just like a step-by-step, of course it's not like the personal, my trials and tribulations, my
of course
failures and my successes and what has worked for me. And so, I've got my, like when I was dragged into a cult at some point, all the kind of foibles along the way where we have to re-navigate, like, okay, what just happened and how do I get back on my path? And
well, that's what I like when I'm listening to somebody or reading somebody's book or somebody's giving a talk, like somebody who's gone through stuff and is explaining it from their perspective and what they learned. Like I get turned off when I see like people who are to say they're experts or talk about something and they've never actually experienced it. I'm always like a little like, well, why am I, I want to hear from somebody who's gone through it, right? Who's been through it, who's been there and that kind of stuff. And do you talk about a lot about your book on your podcast, the Soul Elevation podcast? Do you talk about this? Is this what your podcast is about?
Yeah. So some of my podcast is like just kind of 15, 20-minute solo talking about a topic. And then the other part is interviews. So I will have people on like Harris or Vivienne Chauvet and we will talk about their expertise. And so it's a combination of both.
No, it sounds great. I mean, we only have like a minute left. Is there anything you didn't get to mention that you want to mention before we wrap up?
I feel that we have made some really good points today. So I'm feeling really good. Thank you so much for having me and for holding the space the way that you do and for everything that you're doing to help people to, manifest the highest life for themselves.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah, well, I love this stuff. I've always been like into this woo-woo, woo-woo stuff since I was a kid. So just being able to meet interesting people who are doing interesting work like you and other guests that I have on, yeah, I just love it, because I learn something each week from somebody, and that's what this Gemini girl needs, right? To sustain her.
Exactly.
All right, check out Kara Goodwin on her website, KaraGoodwin.com. Thank you so much for being here with me today. I really appreciate it. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening to Postcards to the Universe with Melissa, creating the life you crave. And I'm wishing everyone a wonderful week filled with joy, abundance, and love. Peace.